Today, we're going to unpack a truly fascinating concept: the idea that discarded, seemingly broken things might actually hold the key to changing our entire lives. We're going to explore this really powerful story that completely shifts how we view value, failure, and, the whole process of rebuilding.
So, what if broken doesn't mean finished? That is really the core question we need to ask ourselves today. Because let's be real, most of us live in a world that conditions us to see something broken and just immediately assume it's completely lost its value. We toss it away, we move on. But what if the very things we're so incredibly quick to discard are exactly what we need the most?
Okay, part one: the value of broken things. So picture this. Our story centers around a guy named Adrian, who lived a pretty quiet life in a slow-moving town. Now, while everyone else was out at the local flea market hunting for shiny antiques or trying to haggle for cheap goods, Adrian was on a completely different mission. He was out there actively seeking out broken watches, old pocket watches, damaged wristwatches, cracked alarm clocks. Basically, if it no longer worked, Adrian wanted it. The shop owners actually mocked him for it. They'd point and whisper, "Oh, here comes the man who buys junk." But Adrian, he'd just kind of quietly smile, hand over a few bucks, toss another broken piece into his bag, and walk home. Nobody could figure out why he collected what everyone else literally deemed entirely worthless. But the reason behind this quirky collection actually takes us all the way back to when Adrian was just a 10-year-old kid. You see, his dad was a watch repairman, and one evening, Adrian asked his dad why people even bothered bringing him broken watches instead of just, going out and buying new ones. His dad picked up this completely silent watch, and he gave Adrian this profound piece of wisdom. He said, "People often confuse silence with uselessness." Just let that sink in for a second. Just because something has stopped making noise or stopped moving absolutely does not mean its core value is gone. To prove it, his dad took that completely silent watch, opened up the back, and carefully repaired exactly one tiny gear, literally just one. And suddenly, the watch started ticking again. His dad looked right at him and said, "Sometimes one small repair changes everything." Adrian carried that singular, incredibly powerful lesson with him straight into adulthood. But as we all know, knowing a lesson isn't really the same thing as living it. Which brings us to part two: the hardest year. As an adult, Adrian hit a wall of compounding hardships that truly put his dad's lesson to the ultimate test. I mean, things unraveled fast. In month one, boom, he lost his job. By month three, his savings had completely vanished. By month six, the isolation really started creeping in as friends slowly drifted away. And by the time month 12 rolled around, he had racked up this whole string of failed business ideas. Adrian looked at his life and actually started to believe the exact same thing those flea market vendors believed about his watches. He felt completely broken, and honestly, worse than that, he felt like he had absolutely zero value left to offer the world. But then, one rainy night, he was sitting in his tiny workshop and he just looked around. He was surrounded by literally hundreds of broken watches on his shelves. But the thing is, those watches weren't judging him, right? They weren't laughing at his failures. They were just sitting there, silently waiting for someone willing to put in the actual work to repair them. And that sparked a massive light bulb moment. If he could sit there and patiently repair these broken watches, could he patiently rebuild his own life? Let's look at part three: the invisible gears. This decision kicked off the absolute quietest, most unglamorous period of Adrian's entire life. He completely stopped obsessing over massive overnight success and started focusing on the internal mechanics. He built this super strict daily routine. He'd wake up before the sunrise, he'd exercise and read for 30 minutes, he'd practice repairing his watches, he'd learn new skills online, and he'd apply for opportunities. He repeated this exact same monotonous routine every single day, and for weeks and then months, the results were entirely invisible to the outside world. If you were looking at him from the outside, you would have thought absolutely nothing had changed. But Adrian knew this really powerful truth that the rest of the town didn't. The tiny gears were moving again. Sure, it was invisible, but they were moving inside his mind, inside his daily habits, and ultimately inside his future. He was doing the hard internal repair work, literally gear by gear. Moving right along to part four: the most valuable repair. So one afternoon, this young boy brought in his late grandfather's severely damaged pocket watch. The kid looked at Adrian and said, "My mom said nobody can fix this." Adrian took the watch, took a look at the severe damage, and knew it was going to be tough, but hey, not impossible. When Adrian handed it back, ticking 3 days later, the boy actually burst into tears of joy, and seeing that raw reaction just shifted everything for Adrian. It hit him like a ton of bricks. He wasn't repairing objects. That wasn't what his work was actually about.
It was never just about metal gears and springs.
He was restoring memories. He was restoring hope. He was restoring human connection and profound meaning. The physical repair of that watch was really just the vehicle for bringing life and joy back to someone who thought it was lost forever.
And because he cared so deeply, word spread like wildfire through the town. People totally stopped calling him the man who collected junk. Instead, he earned this amazing new reputation: the man who gave old things a second chance. His shop filled up with eager customers from neighboring cities, and he even had young apprentices begging to learn his craft. He had successfully rebuilt his life. But amidst all this newfound success, he intentionally kept one permanently broken watch hanging right there on his wall, just to keep himself grounded and remember exactly where he started. Years later, Adrian was actually invited to give a speech at a local school. A student raised their hand and asked, "What is the most valuable watch you've ever repaired?" Now, everyone in the audience completely braced themselves to hear about some rare million-dollar antique, right? But instead, Adrian totally shocked the room by saying, "My own life." He explained that for years, he genuinely thought his failures made him completely worthless. And then he left those students with this absolutely brilliant piece of wisdom. Failure is only a broken gear. It can be repaired as long as you simply refuse to give up.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, Your Second Chance.
Because here's the thing, the mechanics of repairing a watch and repairing a life are remarkably similar. On one hand, we have physical broken things, right? Watches, clocks, this stuff we know we can easily take apart and fix. But then on the other hand, we have internal broken things, broken plans, broken confidence, broken dreams, even broken relationships with ourselves. The real tragedy is that we throw away the internal things way too quickly. We just completely fail to realize that our inner lives operate by the exact same rules of repair as those physical objects. So if you want to get your internal gears moving again, here's what you actually need. First off, we absolutely do not need perfection. Demanding perfection right out of the gate is exactly what keeps us paralyzed. What we actually need is patience. We need to make just one small improvement today. And then we need to wake up and make another small improvement tomorrow. It is that exact same daily routine Adrian used to painstakingly rebuild his own habits. So look, if you feel like something inside you has just stopped ticking, maybe it's due to a massive disappointment, some heavy regret, or a string of failures that have just left you feeling entirely discarded, I want you to remember this fundamental truth. Broken doesn't mean useless. It simply means repair is needed.
So, what will you choose to do next? Your future is absolutely not decided by your worst day or your deepest failure. It's decided entirely by the small, patient repairs you choose to make, starting right now. So if you're ready to start those tiny gears turning again, go ahead and leave a comment below saying, "I deserve a second chance." Because every great comeback and every meaningful repair begins with just one decision to start again.